The story begins at a packed idol concert, where two famous girls light up the stage with their performance. One is cheerful and energetic, while the other is cool and reserved. As the crowd cheers, a boy in the audience watches in shock. Because these two rising stars are actually his childhood friends. Seeing how much they've changed, he realizes his normal life may never be the same again. The next day at school, everyone is still talking about the idol duo's concert. Their performance was so amazing that it's become the biggest topic among students. We're introduced to Kazuma Kuzuhara, a second-year high school student. While his classmates excitedly praise the idols, Kazuma quietly reflects on the concert himself. Even though everyone sees the duo as untouchable stars, Kazuma knows them better than anyone. The idol group, known as Daemons, may still be rookies, but their fame is rising fast. In less than a year, they've already become one of the most talked about idol units in school. To everyone else, they're untouchable stars on their way to the top. But for Kazuma, they're not distant celebrities at all. As his classmate points it out, Kazuma is actually childhood friends with both Setsuna and Arisa, the two girls everyone admires. And just hearing that makes the rest of the class jealous. Kazuma's classmates can't stop talking about Daemons. They're amazed that such popular idols go to the same school, and even more shocked that Kazuma is close to them. One of his friends gets so excited that he practically declares himself a lifelong fan on the spot. But while everyone else is happily cheering them on, Kazuma starts to feel conflicted. The more popular Setsuna and Arisa become, the more distant they seem from him. Just as that thought crosses his mind, someone suddenly arrives at the classroom door. Setsuna suddenly appears at his classroom door, instantly shocking the entire class. She greets him warmly. Kazuma is surprised and asks why she's here, since she was supposed to have work later. But Setsuna casually says she came because she has time before the afternoon schedule. A moment later, Arisa arrives too, making the classroom even more chaotic. Unlike cheerful Setsuna, Arisa is calm and blunt, but she still greets Kazuma like it's completely normal. Kazuma smiles and tells both girls how amazing their concert was, praising them for shining on stage. But Arisa quickly fires back, teasing him for not even keeping track of his own childhood friends' schedules. Even with her cold attitude, it's clear Arisa is comfortable around him. And with both idol girls now standing by his side, Kazuma suddenly becomes the center of everyone's attention. When Kazuma praises their concert, both girls react in their own way. Setsuna lights up with happiness, excited that he watched and enjoyed their performance. Arisa, though more reserved, quietly thanks him too, clearly pleased that he noticed their hard work. Seeing how happy they are, Kazuma tells them there's no doubt they'll become top idols someday. The girls blush at his words, but even then, they humbly admit they still have a long way to go. Hearing Kazuma believe in them means everything to Setsuna. She blushes and happily promises to keep doing her best as an idol, especially now that she knows he's cheering her on. But even as he smiles at them, Kazuma can't shake one thought: the more famous Setsuna and Arisa become. But Setsuna suddenly remembers something important. Since they have work after school, she quickly pulls something out, saying she needs to give it to Kazuma before she forgets. Just when Kazuma thinks Setsuna is about to give him something sweet, she suddenly pulls out a thick envelope stuffed with cash. With a bright smile, she casually hands it to him, calling it his monthly allowance. The entire class freezes in shock. Kazuma casually accepts the money and thanks Setsuna, acting like this happens all the time. That only makes his classmates panic even more. They can't believe he's calmly taking a huge allowance from one of the most famous girls in school. But Kazuma shrugs it off, saying it's just money from his childhood friend and sees nothing strange about it. His friends completely lose it, shocked by both the amount of cash and how normal this weird relationship seems to Kazuma. Meanwhile, Setsuna innocently tilts her head, not understanding why everyone is making such a big deal out of it. Setsuna then reveals the real reason she became an idol: to make life easier for Kazuma. With a sweet smile, she says she wants to grant any request he has and doesn't mind supporting him at all. That confession leaves the entire class stunned. Kazuma's friends immediately call it crazy, saying Setsuna is spoiling him too much and turning him into a useless bum. One of the classmates even begs Arisa to step in and stop this before Kazuma becomes completely spoiled, and Arisa agrees. Arisa decides to question Kazuma directly, asking what he even spends all that money on. Kazuma casually says he uses it for normal things, like games, PC parts, and expensive sushi. Then, joking around, he says he blows it all on gacha pulls and super chats until he's broke. His classmates immediately freak out, calling him shameless for wasting Setsuna's hard-earned money like that. Arisa sees right through him and coldly points out that he was probably already planning to ask Setsuna for more money soon. With a sigh, she calls Kazuma completely hopeless. After scolding Kazuma for being irresponsible, Arisa suddenly does something that shocks everyone even more. She pulls out her own stack of cash. With her usual blunt expression, she tells Kazuma this is his allowance from her too. She warns him not to cause Setsuna any more trouble or waste his money again. The entire class is left speechless. Just when they thought the situation couldn't get any crazier, Kazuma happily accepts Arisa's money too, which only leaves everyone even more stunned. To him, this is somehow completely normal. Grinning, he thanks Arisa and says he loves her so much, making her instantly flustered. Embarrassed, Arisa quickly denies being happy about it, even though her reaction says otherwise. Trying to act composed again, she coldly tells Kazuma that he clearly can't survive without her. But instead of sounding harsh, it only makes it more obvious how much she cares about him. Meanwhile, their classmates can only watch in disbelief at how ridiculous this whole relationship has become. In the end, both Setsuna and Arisa proudly declare that they'll keep supporting Kazuma no matter what. To them, taking care of him is simply part of their bond. Kazuma happily thanks them both, completely accepting their affection and support like it's the most natural thing in the world. Meanwhile, the entire class can only stare in disbelief, unable to understand how things turned out this way. As a second grader, he already noticed how hard the adults around him worked. His parents came home late every day, always looking exhausted, and even his teachers seemed constantly busy. Watching everyone struggle made young Kazuma realize something important: he had a problem he wanted to solve. As a kid, Kazuma came to a shocking conclusion: he didn't want to work when he grew up. Seeing how exhausted adults were all the time, he decided he wanted an easy, carefree life instead. But he quickly realized that kind of dream would take a lot of money. So while sitting alone during a school field trip, he started seriously thinking about how to make that happen. That's when Setsuna and Arisa found him. Worried about why he was by himself, the two girls approached him and invited him to come play with them. This was the moment Kazuma first met the two girls who would change his life forever. From the moment they met, Setsuna and Arisa started taking care of Kazuma in their own ways. Arisa was strict but caring. She made sure he stayed clean, told him not to sit on the ground, and even wiped food off his face without hesitation. Setsuna was much more openly affectionate. She happily fed him, doted on him, and called him her favorite. Before long, both girls were competing over who loved Kazuma more, each insisting they cared about him the most. And without even realizing it, Kazuma became the center of both their worlds. One day, while spending time together, Kazuma finally opens up about the problem that's been on his mind. He tells Setsuna and Arisa that he's worried about the future and envies how carefree they seem. Hearing that, both girls immediately promise they'll do anything for him and listen to whatever he has to say. Kazuma hesitates, worried they might hate him for what he's about to ask. But the two girls quickly shake their heads and reassure him they could never hate him. With both of them looking at him seriously, they tell Kazuma to just say what's on his mind. Kazuma finally blurts out the truth: he doesn't want to work when he grows up, so he wants Setsuna and Arisa to support him financially for the rest of his life. It's such a ridiculous request that Arisa is left completely stunned. But before she can even process it, Setsuna instantly agrees without hesitation. Kazuma is overjoyed, grateful that his childhood friends are willing to support his lazy dream. And from that absurd promise, the strange bond between the three of them begins. Back in the present, Kazuma walks home from school humming to himself, proudly thinking that living lazily without working really is the best life. But while he sees the money from Setsuna and Arisa as fair support from his childhood friends, everyone else sees it very differently. Rumors have spread all over school, and now people are whispering behind his back, calling him trash for living off two famous idols. Kazuma tries to brush it off, but just as he's lost in thought, someone suddenly grabs him from behind. Kazuma suddenly gets stopped by an upperclassman who calls him by the nickname spreading around school, Trash Hara. The guy introduces himself as Renji Hajiri, a third-year student. Unlike the others gossiping behind Kazuma's back, Renji approaches him directly with a grin. Kazuma is confused and asks who he is, but Renji says he has something important he wants to ask him. Renji gets straight to the point: he wants to know Kazuma's secret for getting close to idols. Jealous that Kazuma already has Setsuna and Arisa wrapped around him, Renji admits he's been frustrated watching from the sidelines. Now, he wants idols around him too. So Renji casually says he's planning to make two other idol girls, Mashiro Harukaze and Ruri Tachibana, start keeping him company instead. Kazuma, completely unfazed, just shrugs and says that sounds fine. Renji assumes Kazuma must be living every guy's dream. He bluntly asks what it's like being close to two beautiful idols, imagining all kinds of things and acting like Kazuma has already won. Kazuma immediately shuts that down, saying he's never done anything like that with them. Setsuna and Arisa aren't just idols to him, they're simply his childhood friends. Renji refuses to believe him at first, but Kazuma makes it clear that his bond with them was never about their looks or fame. To Kazuma, what matters most isn't their beauty. Kazuma finally reveals what really matters to him, and it's not romance at all. With complete honesty, he says the answer is simple: money. What he truly cares about is the income Setsuna and Arisa make as idols. Renji is completely stunned. After all the emotional talk about childhood bonds, Kazuma casually admits that what he's really after is the financial support their success brings. Kazuma turns the question back on Renji and asks what his plan is after graduation. Renji casually says the obvious path: go to college, then get a job. Hearing that, Kazuma lets out a disappointed sigh. To him, Renji may look cool and carefree on the outside, but deep down he's just another person trapped in the same boring work until you die mindset. Kazuma bluntly says that chasing girls or satisfying your desires won't make you rich anyway. Renji is completely thrown off, unable to understand what Kazuma is even talking about. Kazuma finally spells out his philosophy in the bluntest way possible: he wants money so he never has to work. He says that instead of wasting time chasing physical desires, it makes far more sense to have Setsuna and Arisa keep earning as idols and use that money to support him forever. In Kazuma's mind, this is the perfect plan: a life of endless comfort and leisure, funded by the people who care about him. Kazuma shuts Renji down with a final parting shot before walking away. He tells Renji that chasing girls just for their bodies is shallow, but even worse is living with the mindset that you always have to win or dominate. According to Kazuma, that kind of thinking means Renji will never understand what real happiness looks like. Kazuma's point is simple: there's value in being cared for and supported by people who genuinely love you. To him, being looked after by Setsuna and Arisa isn't something shameful, it's proof of trust and affection. After leaving Renji behind, Kazuma feels relieved that the confrontation is over. But the scene then cuts to Setsuna and Arisa at home, and both are quietly thinking about what Kazuma said. Setsuna reflects that she needs to keep supporting Kazuma forever because, in her eyes, he's someone precious who depends on her. Arisa reaches a similar conclusion in her own blunt way: she thinks Kazuma is such a hopeless mess that he genuinely needs her care. Setsuna's feelings have shifted from devoted support into possessive obsession. Alone in her room, she blushes while holding handcuffs and admits to herself that she wants Kazuma all to herself. Arisa is revealing the same possessive streak, just in her own style. While holding supplies, she blushes and thinks that she's the only one who truly needs to take care of Kazuma. Kazuma is blissfully unaware of just how intense Setsuna and Arisa's feelings have become. The two girls are clearly thinking about him in a much more possessive, exclusive way now, both quietly fixated on making him theirs. Meanwhile, Kazuma is off in his own world, happily thinking about gacha updates and games like nothing is wrong.